Good morning. Have I ever mentioned how much I love millennials? Just whipping through Starbucks here, and the 20-something, well, millennials technically would be those who came into maturity, came into adulthood around the millennials. I guess she's not a millennial. I guess she's a Generation Z. I guess the other one's after it. But just love young people. Well, who cares what the label is? And just her attitude was so uplifting. Literally, just wow. And of course, that's true in every generation. But I just love the way each generation builds upon the achievements of the last and overcomes the frailties and failings of the last. You know, which philosopher was that who talked about the concept of the thesis? You know, the original, the older idea. It's commonly accepted. The antithesis, which is the new ideas that are built upon that, and that the two kind of fight with one another. Witness that, for example, in the conflict with homosexuality and conservative versus more liberal stances on the subject. And in my generation, homosexuality was something to be closeted. There would have been the thesis, you know, the perspective at the time, and then the antithesis with the millennials and the Z generation now, to whom it's just as another lifestyle, and the great conflict that occurs between the two, and the resulting thing, which would be synthesis, which would be the third. So thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Synthesis would be the kind of the finding something between, which is usually represents a progress of sorts. It won't be you probably won't go backwards in terms of being more. It won't be more restrictive, but it'll be more open and allowing, and but not as much as might just on the progressive side. It's not as much. It's a nice compromise. It's the way progress moves forward, step by step, and one day I'll be dust, and the millennials and the Z generation will be the thesis, and the generations to follow will represent the antithesis, and another synthesis will occur. I love watching that happen. Well, this is Jamboree. I wonder if I could get on. No. Okay, let's do this. On my way to work this morning, so allowing myself a venti-sized latte, exercising no temperance in that capacity. Although I do exercise temperance in that I don't allow myself a coffee every day. It's just on working Fridays and exceptional days when I'm working. Like yesterday, I was out working, doing my video making in the desert. It's kind of a stretch to say that's working, but I allowed it. Okay, the Good Life meditation for the whatever day this is. It was up on the screen. There are 3 components: the affirmation of human rights, the statement of the 3 objectives, and the 7 principles. First of all, human rights. Individuals have rights that are inalienable to them, such as the right to free speech, timely what are some of the others, such as the right to not be imprisoned without due cause. There's the due process. Is that what it's called? Due process. You know, you don't want to just throw people in jail and indefinitely. You have to have a reason for them to be in there, or you have to set them free. The right to practice their religion without interference from the state, as long as it doesn't interfere with the trample upon the rights, or interfere with the rights of others, and etc., etc. And these things we will pursue the common good, the welfare of the individual, of the group, while always being mindful of the rights of the individuals, and that way we'll have a better society, balancing the one with the other. It's a delicate thing. It's an interesting thing how the great societies of the world, the great civilizations and cultures, recognize that and lay that down as part of their foundation. It must come through trial and error. Thesis and antithesis. So next, the 3 objectives. The first of these is the development and maintenance of good, sound principles. These are the 7 I'll be talking about momentarily. If anyone else chooses to pursue this path, they can develop as many or as few as they like. All that's required is that you develop them through your own due process, that you use your reason and your experience and your education and your openness to expand your mind, and not just accept dogmatically the prescriptions of others, including me. If anyone ever tries to do this, I would hope that they come up with their own principles. You know, although I borrowed my ideas from others, you know, for the most part. Probably the only thing that's really maybe my own, and even that isn't, is the great indifference. It's certainly not. I mean, anyone that's objectively looked at the universe, especially wilderness, will have spotted that same quality and character out there. I just gave it my own title. That's the part that's mine. 2, the 3 objectives. Wait, no, did I go through that? The development and maintenance of good principles. 2, the what the heck? Well, 2, the execution of good emotional reactions. That's it. Sorry, I lost track there for a second. So I'm more and more considering this like a consumption. The consumption of good, the measured consumption of emotional reactions. Although that kind of spells it out more. It aligns it better with temperance. What I really mean is the execution of good emotional reactions, so that as we live our lives and things happen and circumstances impact us and our bodies respond to things, our bodies, you know, adjust. What I mean by the body part is that we're in certain physical states where we may not be in a good position to deal with the day. Like, for example, I'm feeling pretty good. I got an extra day of work today. Got a long day ahead of me. 3 students, 3 2-hour lessons with, you know, half hour to an hour between to travel, and no lunch break, no breaks of any kind, really. And that's what I gotta remember. My boss allows themselves a 10-minute break. I usually don't do that. I need to do that. 5 or 10 minutes to find a restroom. Anyway, back on topic. I need to be able to respond well, even when my body is weak and tired, and you know, doesn't want to play, rather just curl up in bed or stay in bed. I need to be able to respond well to that as well, during those circumstances as well. To walk with equanimity, even if it's to the executioner's scaffold, for a well-earned prosecution of justice. What I mean by that is that I would respond well if I was in agreement that I was being executed for due process, for good reason. If not, then I would object within reason, within measurement. I would consume that emotion well as well, recognizing the limits of my force, but objecting all the while. Wow, boy, if I can build on this, and if I can use it to gain the courage to speak my mind more, especially on this channel, that would be a very good thing. There's a lot of things that I have opinions on that I don't talk about because they're controversial. Yet I watch the millennials and the Z generation do it with ease, and others in my generation as well. What a worthwhile thing to be able to do that. What a good use of time. Okay, let's move on. 3, the third objective is the performance of good actions, just doing good things. And also, I'd like to add, recognizing, yeah, you know what, I'm going to make this a 1.2 for a new piece. You know, this is a human operating system, this Good Life, and so I version it just like I would software. So version 1 was the original foundation of it. Version 1.1 was a minor upgrade when I added the concept that temperance is the consumption of emotions, the good measured consumption of emotions. And now I'm going to add that 1.2, a minor upgrade, that the performance of good actions includes recognizing when others are performing good actions and offering them praise and thanks. Yeah, 1.2. Major upgrade would occur 2.0 when there's a big revision of the philosophy, like the addition of a new principle, for example, or objective. 7 principles. The first of those is the atomic principle. Everything is bits and pieces, flowing and changing. Oh, so evident yesterday out on the SEMA Dome, watching the bones of an ancient mountain crumbling to sand, and the resulting recycling of biology across that great plain, that near peneplain. That was really an emotional, really worthwhile experience. That was a day where I really, I get out there and I'm like, why am I out here? And the whole time, there's this little rebellion inside of me going on. Why do I come to these places? Why do I come alone? What is going on? My body's rebelling. And then I get back here and I'm like, oh, so worth it. And yesterday, just being on the SEMA Dome, even though it's not the part of the desert that I enjoy most because it's too tame. I'd rather be in the more wilder parts. So recognizing that the transient nature of everything, the bits and pieces, the flowing and the urgency to act and to live. 2, the principle of nature. Everything and everyone has a particular nature. Wow, this sun's bright. And we live our best lives when we recognize that and live in accordance with that. Recognizing that it's in the nature of a rattlesnake to recoil and strike if I brush my foot too close, and to not be upset or surprised if that happens, but to live my life in cautious expectation as I traipse my way carefully amongst the boulders of the SEMA Dome. To recognize that it's in the nature of the sun to exude radiation and heat, and that it will kill me with its radiation, and cancer or heat will take me out in an afternoon if I'm not careful, and that I have to act in accordance with that. That it's in the nature of me to go alone to those wild places, to walk and to think, despite my bodily protests as age rolls on, and my mental exclamations of fear through emotions and other forms. Mental gymnastics. You tell me I shouldn't be there, but afterwards it's so right. To consume those things in moderation. To recognize the nature of other things and to live in accordance with our own nature. To respect the nature of others. 3, the social principle. To pursue social ends as the most concentrated, most refined form of good. To be good in accordance with the 7 principles and in pursuit of virtue. 4, the exercise of temperance in all things. The traditional forms such as food, drink, work, play, sex, recreation, all these things consumed in measured doses. Wow! Hold on, I gotta call the 911, just a second. Okay, I'm back. I kind of lost my cadence. There was a recliner, like a Queen Anne recliner, or giant chair, right in the slow lane of the 5 freeway southbound here, just before El Toro Road. And I'm just like, woo, walking by, and there's Mercedes-Benz, woo, zipping around it. And so I had to call 911 and let them know what's going on. So where was I? I'm back. So I talked about, I was on temperance, right? So yeah, temperance. And I wanted to add the temperance. Another part of that temperance is that it is. I observe it as the measured consumption of emotion, because temperance also applies to when emotions rise within us, and we feel something, we can run with it. It's almost like, if someone drops a 12-pack of beer in front of you, and you can run with it and just down all those beers and become a glutton of beer. You can do the same thing with your emotions. When an emotion rises within you, you can run with it and just consume that emotion and become a raging, get raging in anger or of emotion of any sort. Lust, passions of any sort whatsoever. And temperance applies to the measured consumption of our emotions as well. 5, the great indifference. Wow, coming off of the great indifference yesterday, man, but not as deep as what I was usually go to. I mean, the deep water wilderness holds it there, and I came up with something about that. It's not a matter of going to wilderness to find the great indifference. You have to go to a moonscape to really feel that, like the deep water wilderness or the what do I call the other place? The volcano wilderness. Those two places, I mean, where life is almost devoid. It's just a rocky, barren nothing. That's where you really encounter it. Yesterday, the wild place I was in yesterday was quite verdant, quite lush as far as deserts go, in terms of life everywhere, and I couldn't sense it the same way. So, but the great indifference is basically the nothing. That's the great non-sentience. It's a new way to describe it. That's out there that we live in, and where our own sentience, our own consciousness has come into being. And the recognition that if you're looking for that, for oversight and guidance, you're not going to find it out there. You'll only find it here among one another, maybe with our pets. I'm almost at my exit, so I'd better quick finish up. 6, the reason, the governing faculty, the way that we observe facts of the world. This is how we run that thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. We use reason to look at the facts, and as more facts come in, we have a better understanding, a broader view, make sense of that, develop arguments that we can then test through the living of our lives and the observation of how things work out, and then refine our view. And that's how the younger generation, equipped with more information and a new perspective, can see beyond the limitations of the younger generation. That's the thesis and the antithesis. Proclaim new ways of doing things, to which the older generation rebels and no! And they find eventually some medium between, moving forward as a whole. And that's how we progress. That's using, and reason is the best tool we have along those lines. And finally, virtue, the purpose of life. The virtue, as I define it, is the wholesale improvement in well-being. So better health, better education, better communication, better longevity, better appreciation, better temperance. All of these things, when applied to individuals and ingrained into a society, make for a better life, a better world for people and individuals. And it is best achieved when we live a life where we recognize the transient nature of everything, that our own lives are ephemeral but just here for a moment. And we live in a more acutely active manner, appreciative of that, not taking things for granted. When we seek after and appreciate and respect the nature of others, and then our own nature as well. And we move and we work towards social ends with a recognition and appreciation of the rights of the individuals. When we use temperance in all things, physical, mental, ephemeral, and everything, to limit our consumption and our use of resources, and to build a mental musculature in our ability to interact with the world around us in a more measured and deliberate manner, and finally understanding that the great indifference surrounds us all everywhere, and that all we have is one another, really, and our ability to exercise reason to inform ourselves of the true nature of the universe. And there you go. That's the Good Life meditation for this day, and I'm going to stop and get my rear end to work. Okay, have a great day, everybody. Make it a good life. Take care.